Hello, and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I have not one, but two fascinating guests with me today. Their names are Greg Vorst and Michael Nolan. They are the co founders of Embodied Recovery, a treatment center in Silicon Valley, which helps people transform addiction and mental health struggles into soul growth and empowered living. That just gives me chills. Their empowered living teachings blend psychology, ancient wisdom, I can't read my own handwriting, and embodied practices, drawing from therapy, 12-step recovery, and an ancient Korean practice of breath work called Sun Do. Greg and Michael guide their clients to reconnect with inner strength, wisdom, and healing. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, we're honored to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you, and I can't wait to hear a little bit more about your work and what you do. So let's just start out by sharing with the listeners your own individual stories and then how you came together to develop this incredible um, program that you started.
That sounds good. It's a relatively long story. I'll kind of start with mine. I struggled with addiction for many years, both addiction and mental health issues, and tried treatment a number of different times, but landed in a program in 2007 that really changed my life. And so I went through that program for over the course of maybe 4 to 6 months. And was active in the 12-step community, got a sponsor, work steps, service commitments, the whole thing. And growing up thinking that I wanted to be a professional athlete or a coach, I was finding myself in this spot in life where I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew how to destroy my life quite well, and building it back was something that I was starting to get excited about and thought I wanted to learn more. And so I went back to school to become an addiction counselor. Started working in the field just as a tech, and driving clients to meetings and things like that. And then kind of worked my way up in the treatment world to become a program director. And then Greg and I met, and uh, and then we can maybe get into the beginning stages of embodied recovery from there. But
Yeah,
I'll let Greg share his story.
yeah. My story is similar to Michael in some ways, although I didn't struggle with addiction or substance use.
Mhm.
I I was struggling enough just with life on life's terms
Mhm.
without the use of any substances, and I had a lot of underlying issues with shame and self-worth, and struggled a great deal with depression and anxiety. In my early life, I was in the performing arts, and that sort of transitioned into the healing arts. And
Mhm.
I was on a spiritual quest for a number of years. And I guess in some ways, I was very much like an addict, but that was sort of chasing spiritual highs.
Mhm.
And so my life really was a lot like a roller coaster. There were a lot of ups and downs, and there wasn't a lot of stability in my life. And even though I was a genuine spiritual seeker in many ways, I don't think I really received the fruit of that until I got into recovery. And so in my mid 30s, when I went back to grad school to become a therapist, it was at that time that I learned that the 12-step program is open to people who struggle with emotional challenges, and I got into ACA and CODA, and that was a lot of the work that I had done. And then I think in that doing that work, it really felt like my spiritual growth dropped in and became grounded. And from that point on, I just felt like there was a steadiness that increased through the years. And maybe the only other thing, oh, I've lost the thought already. um, yeah, so I won't add that one, but maybe we'll
Okay.
circle back around to it
Well,
later. Yeah.
my understanding, to maybe tell a little bit of Greg's story for him, but
Mhm.
having had some experience in the 12-step rooms, I think really informed a lot of the work that he was wanting to do with some of his clients early in his therapy
Mhm.
work. And so I think in combination with Sundo, he was noticing in the therapy that there was this missing element that Sundo was able to kind of support quite a bit. And so when he and I met, we were working at an outpatient program, and he was brought in to head up the intensive outpatient program. But there wasn't much of a structure to the program. It was just like, these are the hours, and these are the days, and run the groups that you want to. And he would come to me and say, "Oh, Michael, you know, I've got to teach you about Sundo. It's amazing." And I thought, like, okay, that sounds good. And he says, and there's this music that goes with it. And I'm thinking, like, okay, what is this guy, you know, trying to teach me here? And it turned out to be just an incredible practice that so many of the clients and ourselves benefited from. But as we kind of embarked on this journey of helping people together, unfortunately, that program closed for some reasons that maybe we can get into later. But we started working together in a residential program where I was their program director and Greg was their clinical director, and it felt like we had an opportunity to really maybe shape some of the direction of the program in ways that we hadn't before. And so we tried to implement some more of the teachings that we were working on in the Sundo practice. And from there, it felt like we wanted to have a space of our own to be able to do the work to the extent that we would like to, because we were in director positions, but we still didn't have the ability to make all of the calls that we wanted to regarding the structure of things. And so that was sort of the beginning stages of embodied recovery.
Yeah, and that
Well, it
was
sounds like you
2019.
have an incredible synergy between you, which you must have felt very quickly in your relationship when you first met each other. But going back to the Sundo, did you think that maybe that Greg was a little bit, what's the Sundo thing, kind of crazy, or did you just embrace that and say, okay, I'll give it a try?
Absolutely not. I did not. No. Well, so I thought, what is he talking about? He's clearly passionate about it, and so I could get excited about his excitement for it. But
Mm,
I said, well, if this is something that you're wanting to provide, go for it. I trust you and your skill set, and I didn't quite know exactly what it was going to look like, but the way that we worked, the intensive outpatient program was downstairs, and then the outpatient offices were upstairs. And so I was working upstairs, and Greg was downstairs, and I needed to go downstairs to get something one evening. And I walk down there, and I see Greg on the floor with all of the clients, and they're kind of tapping their legs and
uh-huh.
doing different things, and I'm thinking, "Oh, what am I walking into right now?" He had talked to me about the practice, but I didn't know what it looked like, and so that gave me a pretty clear vision of what the practice looked like. But and I had done a lot of meditation and breath work and yoga,
Mm,
and so it looked like a different practice, and so I was really curious about it. But it really wasn't until Greg and I started practicing together that I just began to experience the fruits of the practice itself. And so
mhm.
I'm a naturally resistant person. I don't like to just go with the flow. I like to know what to expect. Surprises are not fun for me. And so Sundo was something that
Mhm.
my own control issues and rigidity bumped up against the structure of the practice. And so I didn't really enjoy it and like it for some time, but I was still experiencing the benefits of it. So because I had this experience in recovery, I had learned that my intuition isn't always right about something, or that my judgmental thinking can take me out of something that could be really good for me. So in saying that I didn't enjoy it, I was able to say, just because I don't enjoy it doesn't mean that it can't be good for me. And
Mhm.
that kept me committed enough to it to really start feeling the energetic shift in my own walk through life, and was something that I came to embrace and appreciate and really enjoy. So it's
Well,
been a
you and
big
I
part of my
have
recovery.
something in common. I am the ultimate skeptic and, tongue in
Mm,
cheek for everything. I mean,
mm.
it's really, I'm finally getting over it in my older, years, but
Yeah, no, it's
it's,
it's
yeah,
hard work. Good for you.
it is hard work. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
just moved across the country and, whew, yeah, but it's all
yeah.
good. It's all good. Change is good. So then when
Yeah.
did the two of you decide to open up your own space and to go into business together with this, with the teachings that you're doing? And what
Yeah,
was that
so
like?
that was a big adventure. So that was 2018 we started really thinking about it, and in 2019
Mhm.
we broke out. Part of what happened for us is we had continued to work um, for other organizations where there wasn't a really strong leadership team in the way of recovery. So there were people that had business skills and that were that were certainly talented, but there were these experiences that continue to repeat themselves, where we would find ourselves working for individuals who were themselves either struggling with addiction or challenges in that area. And so Mike and I really felt this urgency within ourselves to create an organization where, even as the name says, that we're essentially living into the best version of ourselves, that we're practicing embodying recovery. And so we made it like a real central part of our organization, that everybody who would join and be a part of the team would be both practicing Sundo and in their active recovery. And so, and then as far as what was it like, it was incredibly rewarding to, to have our own space and to invite people in. And Mike and I were not entrepreneurs, so it's also been like a real learning experience. We're in our 7th year now, and
Good for you.
yeah,
Congratulations.
I feel like that has, recovery is humbling, and then being a business owner is doubly doubly humbling. Like there's just so much that we needed to learn, and so much we couldn't know on the outset, and that we had to get through experience. But yeah, I'm really grateful that we went on this journey together and opened our own space.
Well, one of the things I loved about, as I was going through your bio and your profiles, the idea of, and this sounds like it should be like intuitive that everybody's
Mm.
doing it, but they're not. Psyche and Soma.
Hmm.
And you want to talk
Hmm.
about that relationship between the two, because you really can't have one without the other.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
unfortunately, in our society, that's what we try and do, and we're pretty good at it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think in society, people more often than not, we're living from sort of our neck up, and so most of our energy is in our heads, and we may be pretty disconnected from our felt sense of our being. And then, interestingly, in psychotherapy, a lot of what really is in vogue and is considered most effective or considered evidence-based is um, cognitive-based therapies,
Mm-hmm.
where we're really um, trying to shift somebody's thinking. And while there's something really constructive in that, what you're saying about the necessity of incorporating somatic work is so crucial. And it was early in my therapy work I began to have the insight that some of the clients that I would work with, um, despite being quite good at being able to guide them to deepen their emotional experience, they actually weren't ready for that physiologically,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they were very much braced against that, and for good reason. They didn't have the safety and the trust within their own experience of their body and the capacity to self-regulate. And so we really, in the 7 years that we've been operating, we've really been sort of wedding together Psyche and Soma. And the foundation of our work starts with that practice,
Mm-hmm.
which it's a big part of what Mike and I do in our own
Mm-hmm. Well, it's
practice
so
as well.
powerful when you bring in that mind-body connection,
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, just to say that so many of the people that we're working with have maybe been in therapy for years, or they've done treatment multiple times, and often can come in with this notion that I've already done everything, nothing else is going to work. And in therapy or in psychoeducation, there are these concepts that can help to raise awareness to certain issues or help bring some people out of denial. And like Greg is saying, there's such a lack of integration when that somatic component is sort of held to the side. And so it's like, make sure that you eat well and get some exercise, but there's really no emphasis on the importance of coming back to one's body and the
Mm-hmm.
experience of living in this body that I'm temporarily inhabiting. And so
Mm-hmm.
to get people engaged in a practice that can help them maybe reunite with themselves in a physical sense provides such a fantastic foundation for some of the deeper therapy work that we're doing with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did therapy for about 5 years
Mm.
after a trauma, and it just
Mhm.
didn't really seem like it was helping me that much.
Mm.
And sometimes it was like almost making it worse.
Mm.
Until then, I learned how to beat people up, and boom, I was fine. I was good. You know, nothing like swinging a stick at somebody's head to make you feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think it might be nice to prescribe Fight Club for people, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think
Well,
martial arts is probably a better structured environment.
well, yeah, and it's very controlled. And I was fortunate enough to get into a dojo that was very, number one, welcoming to
Hmm.
women, and very supportive. And
Hmm.
I mean, it has been great. Of course, I'm no longer there, so Sensei has tried to talk me into opening up my own place here, but I don't know. We'll
Oh,
see.
wow.
That's
We'll
cool.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
that sounds like that was so empowering though, to shift
oh.
gears from just talking about things to actually doing something so vitalizing that
Mhm.
can give you the sense of agency and the strength that maybe just continuing to talk about the past wouldn't offer that
Right,
opportunity.
right. And for the confidence building, and, since I
Yeah,
had,
yeah.
over the years, I've worked with a lot of women and men too,
Hmm.
teaching them basic self-defense techniques because it's just so empowering learning how to ground yourself and to be able
Mm,
to, take those breaths and move with intention.
mm,
It's a really wonderful gift.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Hmm.
the other thing that I really piqued my curiosity was the seduction of the psychedelic
Oh,
promise.
wow. Oh, yeah.
I wrote
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah. Yeah, what a fun title. Um, yeah. Yeah. Well, you want to take the lead on this, or you care for
Yeah,
either way?
well,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about maybe where to begin. We we've just maybe noticed oftentimes when people are coming in, those specifically that are struggling with an addiction
Mm,
to substances can come in with almost like a hierarchy, like these substances are bad, these ones are not so bad, these ones are fine, and these ones I should still be able to do because they were never really a problem for me. And they're coming in with sort of this negotiation around you're wanting me to be sober, but not like I can still use these things, right? And in trying to help them understand that the work in recovery is not how to avoid substances for the rest of your life. It's that when I'm abstaining from mood altering substances, I'm provided with an opportunity to start getting back to a more authentic relationship with myself that can then guide me into more empowered relationships and experiences in life. And so we've seen a lot of people um, that have wanted to do a workaround on recovery through maybe the use of psychedelics, or these things will wipe my neurotransmitters and reset me, and then from that reset I'll be able to live life normally again. And what we're suggesting is that um, going on this psychedelic adventure isn't going to change your personality. When the trip is done, you come back to you, right? So like if I go and take a month-long trip to Italy, it doesn't make me Italian, eventually I'm going to come back home and still be, where I was before I left. And
Yeah.
so for those, and we're not saying that psychedelics are bad or they have no utility. It's just that when people can see that as the solution to the
mm-hmm,
problem, we're trying to help them see that their personality, their rigidity, their control issues, their
mm-hmm,
codependence is more at root cause of their suffering,
mm-hmm,
and that doing the work in recovery is what's going to get them a lot closer to finding that solution.
mm-hmm. Well, you're
Yeah.
talking to somebody who lived in Colorado for a long time, so yeah, psychedelics were everywhere. And when the psychedelic mushrooms started popping up in every storefront, along the streets, it was like, oh my goodness, this can't be good.
Well, you know, and then the idea that people say, I'm just microdosing, we've yet to see somebody that's, you know, really stuck with the
Micro, it
microdosing.
usually lands in macro dosing
That's right.
Oh,
and a period of
microdosing,
time.
I like that. I'm going to have to write that one
Yeah.
down too.
But
Microdosing.
uh, there's also some maybe other subtle aspects to that I could speak to. So when Mike was, he was doing a great job of just naming like the rigidity or my
Mm-hmm.
codependency, or it could be lack of humility. There's a lot of things that get unearthed when I go on a recovery journey. And what we're what we're working with people to do is raise awareness about the choice points and the choices that they're um, making that are actually causing the suffering. And when I can take a substance that affords me the experience of feeling good, feeling intense pleasure, and feeling things that are actually not commensurate with how I live my life, um, it's um, it's a little bit like getting the cheat code to the video games,
Mm-hmm.
where you kind of you go to the last stage.
You say, I
Uh,
beat the game.
yeah, I beat the game, but also the, it's the process of redeciding, of making new choice points in those
Mm-hmm.
areas where I'm rigid, where I can be really narcissistic or blameful or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Those it takes a lot of time and a lot of tenderness, and it takes a lot of commitment and perseverance to work through that. And if I just take a substance that gives me the endpoint of a pleasurable experience, I'm actually, it's actually a disservice to psyche, because in essence, I'm kind of violating where I'm living from. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
honoring the truth of my being and where I'm living from. Um, and
Yeah.
oftentimes when we see somebody, myself included, when I struggle with depression,
Mm-hmm.
though I couldn't see it in that moment when I was, or in those years when that was my struggle, from an outsider's perspective, the choices I was making, the life that I was living was actually depressing. It would
Mm-hmm.
make sense that I was depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I could take a pill that would erase that, I would be dishonoring all the choices that I was making. And so there's this really crucial stage that we need to go through where we actually begin to embrace the decisions that we've made, even though the ones that led us to suffering, we can embrace, I made this choice before I put it down. And my body, if we go back to the body, my body is also the embodiment of that rigidity and of that all of my character defects. And so to blow past that from the body too, it's a little bit, it could be a little bit like roofie and date rape, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where somebody's given a substance and then they're opened up to an experience that they never said yes to. So we're
Mm-hmm.
working on supporting people getting to an authentic yes, which means first looking at all of the rigidity and all the difficulty and all of the the places where emotionally I'm tangled that I need to gently undo. I need to work with those consciously before there can be an opening that I can integrate. And that's sort of the last piece, is that if I do go to Italy
Mhm.
or wherever it is I go on these journeys, and it's so far different from the way that I live in my day-to-day life,
Mm-hmm.
how then do I integrate that?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've just seen you know, we don't have a wide swath of experience with it, but what we've seen is that it's people are not getting the experience that where the high seduction is and what the promise is. Something very different is happening, and it's looking most often a lot like substance use, where people need to use more,
Mm-hmm.
and to you know eventually they're having decreasing returns, and eventually there's a recognition that this didn't work too.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news is recovery does work. It's just like if I'm willing to do that inner work, in time I will soften and open
Mm-hmm.
and begin to have more rewarding experiences in life. And that's wonderful when I choose that, because that's empowering me, because I made that choice. I didn't have a substance override the way that I live, but I made that choice from within.
Mm-hmm. I want to see if you can tie these two together because when you were talking about the awareness, because I think that a lot of people have very poor self-awareness.
Yeah.
And almost when it's almost intimidating to try and get that kind of introspection, or,
Hmm.
which is, it's intimidating and it's a little bit frightening. And also something that you said in your bios, it was that pain is
Hmm.
often the portal to
Hmm.
healing.
Hmm.
So, and to me, that kind of works hand in hand with the awareness too. I mean,
Hmm.
would you care to
Hmm.
address that?
Yeah,
Um,
it makes so much sense that people um, coming into treatment are going to be guarded,
mhm,
coming in with a lot of life experiences that suggest being vulnerable, being open is maybe dangerous or unsafe, and be frightened of the prospect of sharing these parts of myself that I don't like to look at, that are embarrassing. And if I don't like to look at them, why on earth would I let you look at them?
mhm,
And so one of the nice things about having a more extended treatment episode is that it gives people enough time to really settle into the structure and the container of the environment and the relationships that are going to be so valuable for people to start trusting and opening up more. And so I think, and maybe alluding back to some of the pieces around psychedelic use, um, what can happen for people is that they use psychedelics, and it provides an awareness that, wow, I am more depressed than I thought, or I didn't realize I had so many issues with my father, or whatever it might be. And so that awareness is great, but there's no structure, foundation, or container to hold them in what the work would look like on that awareness. And so
mhm,
the Sundo practice itself is a great invitation to come back to raising awareness of my
mhm,
experience, because I'm sitting in a posture that is maybe gradually more challenging, but early on I'm just needing to sit and breathe and just notice all of the places that my mind is going to, and we can so easily blow past that. I'm counting the ceiling tiles, or I'm thinking about my grocery list, or what I'm going to be doing later, or why I even came here in the first place, and I can just tune those things out. But when I'm asked to sit quietly and just notice my breath for 30 minutes, those thoughts are inescapable. And so
mhm,
helping people to notice where their minds go to every moment of the day is a huge part of that process of raising awareness to all the other things that are there, all of the judgments and the resentment and whatever it is that's in my mind. Just having an awareness that I don't want to be here right now is a great
mhm,
place to start.
mhm,
And so I think the question was like the raising of awareness in
mhm.
connection to, what was it?
Pain.
Uh, the portal of pain, was that the one? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to take that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just maybe I could add to that. Um, so like Mike was saying, oftentimes if we're entering into treatment or wanting to do some work, there's a large process of denial that may be active in
Mhm,
us. And so as we raise awareness, what we can begin to see, it's not only the choice points, but the awareness that certain choices that I'm making are the cause of my suffering. And so as I can begin to bring awareness and to embrace my pain, um, which is very different than being in a process of denial, that pain becomes a very helpful signal in my life. And my distress now and the ways in which I can lock up or shut down, all of that can give me vital cues as to what's happening. And assuming I'm engaged and aware, I can begin to connect that suffering to choice points. And little by little, I can learn to make choices that are more constructive, that are more in alignment with feeling better in my body
mhm.
and healthier relationships and so forth. So the pain is actually a good signal for me.
Okay. All right. I want to backtrack just a little bit, going back to the sundo and,
Yeah, yeah.
just either lying on the floor, sitting there and just breathing and focusing on your breathing, your, breathing patterns. And, you said how it calms you down, calms your nervous system. Do you feel physically different when you
Uh-huh.
do a session or you do a practice of Sando and then you stand up and start moving around your day, does your body feel different?
Certainly so. Yeah. Yeah. So Sundo is very vitalizing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the kind of it's a little different than like a runner's high or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, because what we're doing lower abdominal breathing,
Mm-hmm.
and so the diaphragm really needs to sink low. And when we do that and we focus the mind on the uh, in Chinese they call it the dantian.
That's it.
When we focus in that area 2 inches below the navel, um, essentially in Taoism, there's the notion that where the mind goes, the energy follows,
Mm-hmm.
and then the blood follows the energy. And so what starts to happen is little by little, I entrain myself to create within my nervous system the relaxation response. And so
Mm-hmm.
I move into parasympathetic branch of my nervous system. And so they're called Hangong meditations, which is about 30 or 40 minutes. That whole time I'm focusing in various postures, and then it's built on it. There's no fighting in this, but it's built on a belt system too.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, I increase my capacity to face challenges from different directions while remaining centered. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
great model for life. It teaches
Mm-hmm.
me to stay in my center and self-regulate no matter
Mm-hmm.
what challenge I'm facing. And then the breath work is very vitalizing. So in the beginning, I'm only doing 5 seconds inhale, 5 seconds exhale. But in time, then I'm building up to 10, 20, 30, and then doing locks and rotating the energy, box breathing,
Mm-hmm.
triangle breathing, all of those different styles. And so they're incredibly vitalizing. And then there's, fingertip push-ups, kicks. A lot of the elements that are in martial arts are in the Sundo warm-up and cool down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, so somebody will definitely feel very different. They'll feel very centered and very vitalized. The two primary things that it does is it creates calm with intense focus at
Mm-hmm.
one time. So you can be calm and centered and very, very one-pointed focus. And that's usually people are walking around. If they're calm, they're kind of spacey, and if
Mm-hmm.
they're focused, they're kind of driven. And
Mm-hmm.
so Sundo creates this really nice balance
Mm-hmm.
of vitality and calm.
Mm-hmm. So I'm really curious, within your practice, do you work with people online or is this all in person?
So I'd say 90% of it is in person.
Okay.
There's some work that we'll do with people virtually, but and then we do talks once a month that's open to the public, and we'll post
Mm-hmm.
those talks that we do as podcast episodes. But the Sundo practice, the treatment, all of that is done in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have a podcast?
We do. So it's
Okay.
the Empowered Living podcast. It's just recordings of those teachings that we do once a month that we'll edit those and upload those as podcast episodes for those that are interested.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, so I will look that up. I think I already did put that on in the show notes, but will double check to make
Yeah.
sure because I'm sure. I mean, this is a fascinating conversation with such valuable information for people that
Mm,
could really change their lives, and it's
mm,
to me, it's not as like in what intrusive or
mhm,
invasive or
mm,
it's just it makes so much sense because it's almost like you're watching water flow or
mm,
just the
mm,
clouds moving by. It feels so gentle.
mm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah, it,
And
it certainly can be. And many times people that are coming in are so used to, like Greg said, living from their neck up, and
mhm,
their shoulders are tense, and there's about like half a centimeter between their earlobes and their shoulders, and they're breathing really high up. And
uh-huh,
and so, just getting them to try to lower their breathing a bit more into their lower belly is in itself huge progress for many people. And so it's not like you do Sundo once and then you feel amazing.
right.
Well, it wasn't that in my experience, but the more that I'm able to train my system to drop my breathing a little bit lower into the abdomen, I can feel more centered, more grounded, less anxious, and
Mhm.
more easeful in my walk of life.
So that's really funny because I had a client who, of course, became a very dear friend of mine. And I used to tell her all the time, stop wearing your, shoulders as earrings. You've got to just
Oh, yeah, yeah.
relax. And you're just like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she still
Yeah.
laughs about that. She says,
Oh,
I
yeah.
catch myself every now and again. I said,
Mm,
well,
That's a good one.
good. You catch
yeah.
yourself. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where do you see yourselves going in this trajectory of your practice, and
Hmm.
what is the future for you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mentioned earlier we've been at this for 7 years, and we've been working in outpatient.
Hmm.
We see clients who struggle with mental health and addiction. 2 years ago, we opened our nonprofit organization. So that's our sister organization, and it's called Melos. And meloscenter.org is the website for that.
Okay.
And so right now we provide daily Sundo practice in the mornings before treatment starts.
Hmm.
So all the graduates are able to come and stay connected to the community and participate and move up the belt system.
Hmm.
That organization also, there's trips. So like we did a trip to Korea with our Sundo master, and more recently we were in Lithuania. Um, but the vision, the long scale vision is to have our own practice space and dance space. So my wife hosts Elixir Dance, which is a sober dance
Hmm.
container that she does. She does that once a week. So we have the dance, we have Sundo and our talks, and all of that is going to be the foundation of a community center where people can come in whether they're in our programming or not.
Hmm.
And then also people who've graduated, um, they have a home to stay a part of because
Mm.
the problem with substance use and mental health is it needs much more tending and much more constancy than the treatment episode is afforded, particularly with insurance. People need
Hmm.
so to really go through the kind of changes that they need to and to reorientate themselves, they need a long time within a healthy community, and
Hmm.
preferably why separate from the community ever if you can keep growing within it and it's a
Hmm.
source of connection. So the vision, the long scale vision, is to eventually have our separate center for Melos,
Hmm.
and then we want to keep sharing with people in every way that we can our teachings. The Empowered Living teaching series Mike was mentioning, that's once a month. People can watch that also online. That one is
Mm.
available for people
Hmm.
to
So if they want to tune in through Zoom.
Zoom. They can
Hmm.
witness that.
Hmm.
But for us, the long-term vision is eventually probably opening in other cities,
Hmm.
because the programming we've built out the program, and it's really exceptional, and we get some really people get really extraordinary results when they apply themselves within our program. So our vision is just to share as much as possible with people in the years ahead, and to continue to spread this.
Well, congratulations on what you're doing.
Mm.
It's just very remarkable. And if once you do get the center, with the
Hmm.
dance and everything else in it, feel free to contact me. You can come back on
Oh,
the show and let us
yeah.
know how it's going, because I would love
Oh,
to
yeah.
love to hear that.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank
that'd
you.
be wonderful.
Do you have any final words before we wrap it up? Um, any final words of wisdom you want to share with the listeners, or just anything you want to say? Or anything else you would like to promote? This is your time.
Something was coming to my mind about how much people can struggle to open up when they come into treatment. But one of the things that I do want to acknowledge is just the courage and the bravery that it takes for people to even reach out in the first place and say, something's not working and I need help. And so I can imagine that there's a number of listeners that might just feel like something's not working, and there's a struggle that's present in their life that they don't know how to give voice to. And so I just wanted to encourage them to reach out, that there is support available, that there are people that are willing to kind of guide you in a direction. And just because you reach out doesn't mean that you um, owe them something. Like just because you call a therapist doesn't mean you have to be their client. Feel free to ask all the questions that you want, and
Yeah,
you know, from one skeptic to another, get those questions answered. But at the end of the day, it's so empowering to just make the choice to say, I deserve a different experience of life. I'm willing to put in the work to take care of myself in a really new way. So you don't have to stay stuck where you are if things aren't working, and there are a lot of resources out there that can support you.
yeah. And
Excellent.
I would add to what Michael said, just that I think a lot of people have been reaching out for a good period of time and they're not getting the results they want. And so I just, if you're out there and you're struggling in that way, um, therapy can be extraordinarily rewarding. Recovery can be extraordinarily rewarding. And if you combine those things with the practice of Sando or something like that, what we've seen in people's lives is nothing short of a miracle. Like there really is, there, that we have seen cases that seem beyond hopeless where people go forward to live the most rich and rewarding lives, and that person can be you. So if you're out there struggling, there really is great reason to hope, and we're available to support you in any way if you want to reach out to us, and we can also direct you to other resources that we know to be valuable.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. This has been a fantastic conversation, very uplifting and hopeful, which, makes me feel all like tingly. One skeptic is, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Oh
you,
yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Do share this episode with everybody that you know, especially if you know somebody who might be struggling, looking for some help. Obviously, Greg and Mike are wonderful guys. They got a great program. Check out their website. And remember, there's always hope for health and healing. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.